In the opener, he came on as an 83rd minute sub against England, and after the Wales match, Greg Berhalter described some tightness and a last-minute check for the young star. Reyna was asked about it post-game, and he said he's 100%. Now here's where it gets interesting. Eric Winalda, U.S. World Cup legend, was on a Twitter Spaces convo a couple days ago, and he said he was consoling his former teammate, Claudio Reyna, of course, Gio's dad. Winalda said, quote, Gio was fit to play. Berhalter did lie to the media and say it was an injury. He asked the player to go along with that story, which caused a rift between them, and now Gio is on the bench. Herc, these are explosive allegations. What do you make of them?
So Eric Winalda claims, via Claudio Reyna, Gio's father, that Gio was asked to lie. That's what Eric Winalda is saying. Wow.
This sounds like a game of phone that just kind of like somebody said one thing, somebody else said and by the end time it got to the last person, it was greatly exaggerated.
Maybe. But from the beginning, I've said something doesn't feel like.
Have you ever heard a coach ask a player to lie?
No.
Okay.
From the beginning, I told you, I quite can't put my finger on this. Something's going on here. One of these two are lying. Where's the truth? Is it Gio's not fit and the coach is trying to protect the player? Or is it Gio is fit and the player blundered a tactical decision and is using him as a scapegoat?
The coach, yeah.
I think it's somewhere in between, the truth. We all talk, okay? U.S. men's national team players talk, coaches talk, friends of friends, family members. I've heard from the players' camp, people around them. I've heard from other players. And I think the truth is somewhere in between. Is this a game of phone? I think it is. These conversations that were by Eric Winalda filtered into the press could be. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying something still doesn't smell right to me. Is there a situation, given the player's history, where they saw him and he still doesn't look physically fit, so they want to take care of him? Maybe.
Yeah.
Is there also a situation where maybe Greg Berhalter got the tactics wrong and he spoke out of turn? Yes, he likes to talk, and oftentimes he gets himself in trouble when he talks. But I honestly think the truth is somewhere in between in this one.
Yeah, because if the player says he's fit and the medical staff says that the player is fit, but the coach doesn't feel that the player can give him what he needs, in the coach's mind, it is still a fitness thing, isn't
Correct.
it? And isn't it the coach's prerogative and almost like obligation to take that, even if it is a really difficult decision? I mean, Berhalter and Reyna were teammates.
Yeah.
Berhalter and Claudio Reyna were teammates.
Correct.
So, it must be a very difficult decision for him to look at Gio Reyna, who, by the way, is also a freaking amazing player, and want to use him. If he's not using him, to me, there must be something that, even though Gio might think he's fit, Greg isn't convinced yet of it.
There's no coach on this earth that doesn't play a player who he thinks could help him win.
And there's no way that we think if Gio Reyna is fit, that he was
not
fit
that
enough
player.
to start
That
even
he's
for
not that
Dortmund in the run-up to this.
Right. But
and I guess that's where, from the Gio
given
perspective,
the player's history,
right? But if Dortmund said, and Dortmund's the one that's investing in him, if they're the ones who are saying, "Hey, he's good enough to start for us," I could very much understand from the Reyna perspective, specifically the player, like, "Hey,
if you're the player, you want to play.
My club
even
signed
if you're
off
not
on
100%. If you're the player, even if you're not 100%,
it's a World
you
Cup.
want to play. It's a World Cup.
Who cares if my hamstring rips off the bone, right?
That's where it's supposed to rip if it's going to rip.
I think there's also kind of a more important point here to mention is that, like, I want to word this carefully.
Okay.
Eric Winalda loves attention.
Oh.
He does. And that's why he ran for president of U.S. Soccer in 2018. I think this is a very exaggerated claim. And I think it's potentially, like, very dangerous because he effectively is saying, right, that because the player was put in a position to ask to spin the truth, that's why this riff is happening, and that's what's leading to the lack of minutes. And that, to me, is really, like, that's putting something on Berhalter that is, I think, unfair and totally unrealistic. That would be Greg Berhalter sabotaging his own team.
Yeah, it would be Greg Berhalter sabotaging
Can I give you something like what I might guess would have happened?
Okay. Not the phone, I assume.
Yes. Greg Berhalter says what he says in the press conference, which, to your point, may have been too much, right? Just admit that it was a tactical decision. If people don't like that you went with Jordan Morris over Gio Reyna, fine,
So
but
what?
own it, and it's fine. You're in that spot to make that decision. Not Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter does not get off the podium, go to Gio Reyna and say, da-da-da. Somebody within the staff who, after a press conference's job it is to go to the players and say, hey, this is what the coach says.
Press officer.
So that you are, well, whoever it is, I don't know if it's the press officer or part of a press team, goes to the players, informs them of what was said, and somewhere in from what Greg said, it being shared with the player, and then the player immediately being asked about their fitness, which is a direct question about fitness, that's where we get the, well, I'm 100%, he had tightness. That disparity then leads to contention outside the camp, perhaps in the family, which is what Eric Winalda is claiming, and then Eric Winalda is saying that this was leading to him being on the bench. But I cannot believe that that's why Gio Reyna didn't start against England.
No,
I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept that.
Forget about refusing or not. I don't believe it. I don't believe that if Gio Reyna's not fit, if Gio Reyna is fit, he will play. Because to me, Gio Reyna has the highest ceiling of any player, and he has the highest talent level of any player. Technically, you put him in the midfield, you put him out wide, wherever you put him, he's going to give you something, and I think he can win a game for you. So going back to what we said about Greg Berhalter, there's no coach who's not going to play a player he thinks could help him win. And there was a game in Poland where that game was there for the taking, could have helped him win. Something's going on there. To Winalda, you spoke about it being damaging to Greg Berhalter. I'm thinking about it from Claudio Reyna's perspective. Now, Greg Winalda and Claudio Reyna are friends.
Eric Winalda, yes, yes.
What did I say?
Greg. We got a lot of Gregs here.
Apologies. Eric Winalda and Claudio Reyna are friends. Is there a situation where I see Claudio Reyna confiding in Eric Winalda about something that's going on?
Totally.
Absolutely.
That sounds normal.
That's why I'm telling you, I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Right.
I think we're getting, and this is,
I guess I'm not dismissing. I'm not
dismissing Eric Winalda because obviously he heard what he heard,
it's just not as
or
extreme
interpreted
as
what he heard
Yeah.
in some way, and he's saying, and he has every right to. But this is why I'm saying I think that truth is somewhere in between.
Could this destabilize the team? Because before we heard anything from Eric, you and I were on a metro, and we talked to somebody who knows people within the camp.
Can I be honest?
Yes.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't think the team cares. I'm more.
You don't think the team says, "Why isn't Gio playing?" You don't think that's weird to everybody?
No, because players know.
And you don't think they're seeing these comments from Eric?
Players know. Players know who's fit and who's not. Players can see in the training sessions like who's ready, who's not. That's out the window.
That's not what we heard from this source.
Hold on.
They said that the players were.
I've heard multiple things. Okay, and that's why I'm saying I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. But what I will say is I'm worried about Gio. Gio can be affected. Gio's a teenager. Who is he? 20 years old?
Yeah,
if that.
He's a kid. He's a kid still.
He's a kid. And this is a World Cup. The world is watching. You want to be out there. So if there is a doubt of your fitness, that's physical. That's your body. Where's your head at with this? If this is circulating, going around, if you think your own teammates don't think you're fit enough, if you think your coach doesn't think you're fit enough, but you think you're fit enough, what does this do to your headspace? That's what I'm worried about.
All right, so the U.S. not in a bad spot. 2 draws from 2 games, and Iran coming up. Very different story, Herc,